Hey, Jordan. Forgot to put down the mic. Move this out of the way. Testing. Oh yeah, it can hear me. Did this one time in a live. The mic was up against the wall, and luckily I was speaking loud because you could still hear me. But it's always nice to kind of talk into the mic. But it's morning time. I've been at 7:45 a.m. in Thailand. It's about East Coast in the United States. It's 8:45 p.m. So I got my morning collagen drink here, and we are on, I believe, chapter 6 of YOU². And now when we get on to chapter 6, it's really starting to kind of pick up the pace uh, out of the topics. The topic today in chapter 6 is quit trying harder. Uh, and we'll see what angle Price Pritchett will take on this. But this is a really good concept. Quit trying harder. I mean, when you're trying success, you're trying to get manifesting to work for you. I mean, it's kind of like an oxymoron in a little bit. Is like, stop trying so hard. There's lots of times when we're trying hard, we're attached to it. We want it too bad. Okay. Something that you already have, you're not attached to, you kind of don't care anymore. You know what I mean? So, and I've read this book many times, but I didn't skim this chapter, so I don't know the angle Price Pritchett is going to kind of take on it. So I might take a sip of my collagen. This is morning time for me. I did my morning coffee, and that way I kind of started finding, like, I really started wanting to go live. But by the time I did my whole morning routine, take care of the puppies, drink my coffee, get ready, look beautiful, it kind of puts me out of the mood. So now I'm just switching up my routine and going live no matter what I look like. So cheers to you. Got my collagen going on. Let me take a sip before we get started. And we're get rocking here. So this is chapter 6. Quit trying harder. And I'll read the quote first. More of the same usually gives you more of the same. You doing more just gives you doing more. Let me put my glasses so I can see. So let's begin. Quantum leaps cannot be achieved through incremental steps or through more of the same. You've got to shift gears. You have to follow new patterns of thought and action. The rules of what works and what doesn't always change when you are trying to make a move from normal performance to YOU². And he's continuing from the last chapter. The last chapter was change your personal rules for success. And he kind of talks about, remember, he kind of talks about in the previous chapter, he kind of brings it up here. That's the reason why I'm talking about it, that what worked for you in the past might not work for you now in the future, you know, because we're always evolving. You're always becoming a better version of you. So what worked for you, like an older version of you, might not work for you expanding yourself again. That's what he's saying. Like that's basically what he's saying. I don't need to kind of rephrase that a million different ways. So listen, I'll read it really fast here. You've got to shift gears. You have to follow new patterns of thought and action. The rules of what works and what doesn't always change. And when you are trying to make a move from normal performance to YOU². Stop and think about it. Here's the way it goes. More of the same usually gives you more of the same. Of course, if that's mainly what you're after, fine. Try a little harder and get a little bigger payoff. Try a lot harder and you can expect a lot better results, right? Well, possibly, but it's definitely not a sure thing. Sooner or later, you're going to reach the point where you can't try any harder. It may be that your spirit flags or that your physical and mental resources are stretched to the limit, and often, well before you come to the set of circumstances, you reach the point of diminishing return. Trying harder and harder starts producing less and less. Sometimes, in fact, intensifying your efforts produces nothing except bigger problems. I wish I had a highlighter because I would highlight that. I probably do somewhere, but I'm a little bit unorganized when we're up in Surin. But do you feel that? And as I'm taking a sip of my collagen here, I'll reread kind of what uh, what kind of spoke to me a little bit, especially to the whole concept of you have to try harder, you have to do more, you have to do more, especially as an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Because I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I follow entrepreneurs, I follow big entrepreneurs. I mean, like Alex Amosi, uh, my brains, it's morning time for me. But a lot of them. I mean, not just one. But even though my brain's asleep a little bit, you got to forgive me. But I mean, but what my whole point is in the whole entrepreneur world, it's always harder, 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 try harder, do more, try harder, do more. But that's really a conflict in a manifesting world. That's really a conflict when when you're trying to understand consciousness, because you don't have to try harder, because harder just means you're trying to force something to happen, and force negates from you most of the time. So I'll read to you again kind of what kind of stood out to me in this paragraph. Listen, often, well before you come to the set of circumstances, you reach a point. This is where I am. This is what I want to read to you. You reach the point of diminishing return. Trying harder and harder starts producing less and less. Have you experienced this in life? It seems like the harder you try, the worse it fucking gets. And I'm sorry for my language, but especially if you're older. I mean, you don't have to be older to experience this, but sometimes when you're older, you got basically life happens. You got more just life experience. Um, and sometimes those are negative experiences as well. So have you felt that? I mean, put it in the comments if you're listening right now. I mean, trying harder and harder starts producing less and less. Sometimes, in fact, intensifying your efforts produces nothing except bigger problems. Wow. As a case in point, go back to the story of the fly. That little insect could have turned away from the window 180 degrees and followed the path of least resistance as it flew to the open door. And what he's talking about, we've all seen this. You have a fly trapped in your house, and that fly is just beating against the window, the glass window, or the glass door, or the glass screen. And all it has to do is literally turn around and fly the opposite direction, and it would be free. Okay. But it's so focused on busting through that glass that it's never going to do. That's what he's talking about. He's giving kind of like a metaphor of the fly. Listen, a quantum leap to freedom, 10 seconds of effortless flight would have produced total success, while hours of frustration and panic spent beating its wings against the glass were destined to end fruitlessly in death on the dusty windowsill. So basically, like a fly, the fly is so focused on trying to bust through this glass, rather than turning around and flying the opposite direction to freedom, it focuses all its energy, all its effort, and it basically produces so much effort, it pretty much beats itself to death. And you kind of see dead flies on a windowsill. That's kind of the metaphor, the fly story by Price Pritchett here. Now, this is not an argument against self discipline or persistence. Those are true virtues. Over a lifetime, they can make a powerful contribution to success and achievement. They, they are fundamental in the development of your talents. It's extremely important to apply yourself diligently, and sometimes staying power is what delivers a big win. Let me take a sip here in my throat. But ordinarily, you will find that trying harder produces only incremental gains, not quantum leaps. Now, remember, this whole book, U², it's about quantum leaps. Okay, you're not following a logical sequence of events. You're going from step 1 to step 10. You want quantum leaps in your life. That's why we're almost done with this chapter. That's why he said, but ordinarily you will find that trying harder produces only incremental gains, not quantum leaps. Also keep in mind that trying harder, even a lot harder, sometimes offers little more than a straight path to burnout. Attempting to succeed through more of the same, being resolute and relying on committed effort can blind you to better pathways. If you make a quantum leap, quit thinking about trying harder. More effort isn't the answer. Then that's where chapter 6 ends. And I love this book, but since I'm not reading the whole book to you on one live stream, is he kind of ends it kind of weird because the next chapter flows into the next thought. Uh, so he kind of just seems like he abruptly ends it. He talks about quit trying harder, but you're kind of waiting, like, well, just tell me what to do. What should I do? And he ends it with, if you want to make quantum leaps, quit thinking about trying harder. More effort isn't the answer. Okay. Then he ends it because chapter 7 or whatever chapter is next is basically answering that question. So he took a different spin than I thought. I mean, most of the time, it's just because he didn't dive deep into it, because how the book is laying out is each chapter is building on one another. So we have to keep that in mind also. So probably tomorrow when I go live, it's going to answer this question we have right now today. But he did say something kind of very, very unique in the last paragraph here. Let me read the whole paragraph so I can find what I wanted. But ordinarily you will find that trying harder produces only incremental gains, not quantum leaps that you're really hoping for. Also keep in mind that trying harder, even a lot harder, sometimes offers little more than a straight path to burnout. Okay, you just burn yourself out. You keep on trying, and you just burn yourself out. Attempting to succeed through more of the same, being resolute and relying on committed effort can only blind you to better pathways. That's what kind of stood out to me. Like, we're trying so hard, so hard. So, so focused on what you got to do. Does that cause a blind spot to a better pathway, a better avenue of least resistance? Okay. And he did bring that up, like in this chapter, and lots of times manifesting a success, it's taking the least resistance route, because it's the concept of when you're trying to force stuff to happen, that force negates from you. And force negates from you in every single scenario. I mean, even if you're trying to attract your SP, you're in relationships, you like somebody, but you want them to like you so bad that you kind of become obsessed with them, and you come off, even though you're not really forcing them to like you, but the energy you're putting off is like force, and force negates, and the other person can kind of feel this weird energy from you, and they kind of just want to just naturally stay away from you. It has nothing to do with attraction or anything else like that. They just kind of feel this awkward energy around you, and because that's the energy you're giving off, is force. And I mean, I understand this concept, and I really agree 100% with Price Pritchett, is that, I mean, not close the book because I have a brain fart, quit trying harder. But at the same time, since I'm an entrepreneur, especially in the entrepreneur world, I know I said this in the beginning, the entrepreneur world, especially the marketing world and all that jazz. I mean, there's a lot of sin in marketing, just because people want to sell their product. So like the sin in marketing is just tell people what they want to hear. I've been doing this stuff for like 20 years, guys. I mean, 25 years. either working for companies, big brands, and stuff like that. And it's literally like you'd be scary sometimes how some of these people talk behind the scenes and stuff like that. Just tell people what they want to hear. That's the name of the game. You go on YouTube, just tell people what they want to hear, Chad. But that really kind of makes kind of me ill to my stomach a little bit, because as a mentor and coach, if you tell people what they want to hear, you only hold them back. You understand? You only keep them where they are. Their life don't get better. So that's why, like on my YouTube channel, like I don't tell you what you want to hear, baby. Bottom line, if you're a part of the tribe, I don't tell you what you want to hear. Even if you cancel the tribe, cancel your membership, unfollow me, whatever, it I still can sleep good at night because I didn't tell you what you wanted to hear. I told you what you needed to hear. Okay. And some people don't like that because some people get so catered to other people always telling them what they want to hear, and a pat them on the back, but it just keeps you stuck. Okay. That's the name of the game in marketing. I'm not saying people purposely keep you stuck, but we just constantly but they're kind of doing it indirectly, because the way they do it indirectly is just tell them what they want to hear. Don't tell them the truth. Okay. They don't want to hear the truth. Okay. But anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I just kind of brought that up. Let me, yeah, let me bump look like a priest. um, but I definitely can see it both ways from all the knowledge I have on manifesting and success. But that doesn't really always align with in the entrepreneur world, because you always have new people that come out crazy popular, and people all regurgitate the information. They all repeat the same stuff. I mean, right now, Alex Hormozi, Layla Hormozi is crazy popular, and all people do is repeat phrases that they hear is take action, take action, take action, work hard, work hard, work hard, stay in the game, don't quit. And a lot of it is 100% true, but sometimes working harder isn't really the answer. It's also taking intuitive action, listening to your intuition, listening to your gut feelings, listening to that small little voice. And lots of times that's the stuff that they don't really explain. Like I told you before, just because somebody is ultra successful, it doesn't mean that they can teach you how to be successful. I mean, Bob Proctor called this the unconscious competent, meaning somebody's ultra successful. They're making millions of dollars, but they really deep down don't know why they're successful. Okay. The only thing they can tell you is work harder, work harder, work harder, work harder. Don't quit. Don't quit. Stay in the fire. You know what I mean? And they're not lying to you. You have to do those stuff, but at the same time, working harder isn't always the answer. What if, listen to this, what if with manifesting, whatever, I don't need to work harder and I could work 2-3 hours a day and that's all I need to work. If I really believe that, that's all I needed to do. That's all I needed to work, and everything else will take care of itself because I'm blessed. I have the source power inside me. Then that's what's going to manifest in my life. I don't need to uh, bury myself in the ground in order to be successful. And you're see that. I'm kind of I don't do a lot of stuff on health anymore, but I'm going to start doing that. But lots of times I want to be healthy. I want to live life on my terms. I don't want to live life on my terms and have all the money in the world, but yet I'm unhealthy because I basically got 3 hours of sleep every single night. Then you hear entrepreneurs saying, "Oh, get up at 4 a.m. They go to bed at midnight." I mean, look at their health today. I don't want to mention names because it's not about mentioning names, but a lot of entrepreneurs are incredibly unhealthy because because they're on that regimen like that. And I don't want to I don't want to live my life that way. Bottom line, I want to be healthy. I want to get plenty of sleep. Sleep is important to me. Sleep is where you rebuild, your body regenerates. So yeah, I mean, but anyway, I don't want to go on too much because I know tomorrow when we go live, he's going to answer this question of stop working so hard. Okay, quit working so hard. Quit thinking like it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. I got to do more, more, more. Because that will lead into, and I'll do a reflection of what we talked about today shortly. Then we'll go into the next chapter. But anyway, tribe, thanks for hanging in. Thanks for tuning in. And I will see you tomorrow morning sometime in the next live.